Hey everyone, and welcome to the official We Rising Suns podcast. I'm your host, Raymond Logan, and today I'm going to be talking about what it means to be a man. Let's get straight to it. Hey guys, and welcome to the very first episode of the We Rising Suns podcast. My name is Raymond Logan. I am the host for this show. Today, I'm going to be talking about what it means to be a man. But before we get into the show, I want to talk a little bit about this podcast, talk about how we came to start this podcast and what we hope to really achieve with it. So my co-host slash brother-in-law, David Peterson, had this idea to start a podcast, and he and one of our friends, Brian, had started writing stuff up for the podcast and had really started structuring some of the episodes and formatting it and everything. And I actually really wasn't brought onto the scene until I would say weeks later. And that's kind of when we had started trying to figure out a name for it. And it was originally going to be the Rising Suns podcast, but then that was already like a band name or something like that. So it kind of morphed into Rising Suns, and then David was like, hey, I'm just going to do the We Rising Suns podcast. And so that's what it is right now. I don't know if the name will change later down the road. I hope we don't change it. I really do like the name, and I hope that we keep it. We really start this podcast not to teach men how to be men, but to help men to become better, to step up, to be a leader, to take on responsibilities, and to take accountability for their actions. We need men who are going to lead and fight. Men who are going to fight and lead us into a greater future. We need men who are going to start taking accountability. We need men who are going to push themselves past their own limitations and give it their everything. We really do need men out there. Good, strong ones. Not men who are going to run away from their bad situation, or men who are going to run away from their families. We need men who are going to take care of their families, take care of their kids. We need men who are going to start stepping up and becoming fathers, becoming leaders, to becoming fighters. So what we hope to accomplish with this podcast is to help men to start doing those things, to start becoming those things. We hope to foster a community of brothers, a community of good men to start changing the world, to start fighting for our freedom. Because our freedoms are being taken away from us. And we need to fight for those. And we need men who are willing to step up and fight for those. Men who are willing to know better, do better, and be better. Men who are willing to become a part of something greater than themselves. We hope to create a community of men. A brotherhood, a bond like no other. Men who are grounded in their faith, grounded in their virtue. Men who hold others with respect. Men who take care of their children and their families, men who were stepping up, becoming fathers, becoming leaders, becoming protectors, and becoming the men that they were truly meant to be. And at We Rising Suns, we're working to become better. We know we're not perfect, but we're not bound by that. In fact, that gives us a motivation to become better. That's what drives us. We know that we're not perfect, so we're going to do our best, and we're going to get the absolute closest we can to perfection. I also want to let you know that this podcast is not just for men. If you're a woman who is looking to be better, then that's great. Listen to this podcast. If you're looking to become a leader, then listen to this podcast. If you're looking to become better, then listen to this podcast. If you're looking to become a protector, listen to this podcast. I don't want to just limit this to men. And yes, my mission here is to create a community of men, but it's also to help create a community of just good people. Of good, strong people. Let's get into today's topic. Today, I want to talk about what it means to be a man. And kind of what it means to be a man for me. Because I am 16 now, and it really is that time for me to start stepping up. To start stepping up and becoming a man. And I actually want to start this off with why we need good, strong men. Because it seems like a lot of people don't want that. And I know there are more reasons, and some of it's very political, but there are a lot of people out here that don't want good, strong men, and there are some women who don't want that either. There are some organizations that don't want men, period, honestly. But I would even say that the majority of people do want men who are willing to step up and lead. The majority of women do want good men, good husbands, good boyfriends. They do want that. They need that too in their lives. And getting rid of men would throw off the equation that we've had for millions and billions of years. Ever since God created Adam and Eve, ever since God created man and woman. And if we got rid of men, then it would really throw off the equation. And even if we just got rid of women, I mean, men need women a lot. They do a lot of things that men can't do, and we really do need them. But in this world, our country, our communities, we do need good, strong men. But why? Because weak men aren't ready to lead. We don't need weak leaders. We have enough of those. We need good, strong ones. Weak men aren't ready to follow the hard path of discipline. And now, I'm not saying that weak men can't become strong men. I'm saying that we don't need those type of men in leadership. We don't need those type of men taking care of our families, because we see what happens when weak men get in control, when weak men have families. In fact, we don't need weak men, period. We need strong men. So now you guys are probably wondering, what is a weak man? I keep saying weak man, weak man, weak man, but now what does that mean? What is a weak man? To me, a weak man is somebody who just is controlled by his own desires. A man who focuses so much on his outer strength and not really focusing much on his virtue, on his faith, on his discipline, his mental strength, his willpower. Somebody who is so grounded physically, and somebody who is just so strong on the outside. But on the inside, their spiritual, their faith, their mental power is just so weak. And to me, those men aren't ready to lead. They're not ready to fight. They're not ready to have families. And I know this is going to sound cheesy, but true strength is not built in the gym. True strength is not built with the weights. True strength is built from within. It's built with discipline. It's built with your faith. It's built with virtue. It's built with willpower. Being able to control your desires, control your mind. That's what true strength truly is. And you can get the biggest you want to be in the gym. You can eat the most amount of food. You can be the strongest man. But if you're not strong in your faith, in your virtue, then you're really weak. You really are a weak man. So build all the muscle that you want. Build all the size that you want. But at the end of the day, true strength is built within. It's built at the heart. It's built with virtue. It's built with faith. So if you are a weak man who is looking to become a stronger man, then this is the podcast for you. And one of the ways that you can become a stronger man is by discipline, practicing discipline, disciplining yourself, your body, your mind. It's going to help you, I guarantee you, become a stronger man. Now, what does it even mean to be a man? It seems to be a thing that a lot of people are asking, and it was the thing that I was really searching for too. What does it mean to be a man? And preparing this podcast episode, preparing my notes and doing my searches online and everything, I couldn't seem to find the answer. And it was just on my mind constantly. It was something that I guess I never really thought about. It's a question that I asked, but it was nothing that I really thought about. It kind of just gone through my mind. And I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. And now that I am, as I said, 16 and I'm stepping into that manhood, it's something that I need to figure out. It's a question that I really need answered. And during my searches and during my quest for this, I soon came to a brick wall, and that brick wall came my realization that it really isn't something that I can necessarily define. It's not something that can necessarily be defined in one paragraph. Nothing that can even be defined in an entire book, in a series. It's really something that is so much deeper, so much greater in oneself. And I feel like the answer to the question, what does it mean to be a man, really is you. You guys probably like, whoa, hold up. He just said the definition of what it means to be a man is you. That as men, we make the definition of what it means to be a man. Because what it meant to be a man 60 years ago is not the same thing of what it means to be a man today. What it means to be a man today is not going to be the same thing it means to be tomorrow or even 20 years from now. So it's really based on the decisions that we make, the way that we live our lives, the path that we take are really going to define what it means to be a man. Now, for me, what it means to be a man is somebody who is willing to step up and take ownership, a man who's willing to lead, a man who's willing to fight, a man who is willing to hold himself accountable for his actions. It's not defined by the beauty of my girlfriend. It's not defined by how much money I have. It's not defined by my fame. It's not defined by that. And in today's culture, it very much is defined by that. We're so caught up in, we have to have the most prettiest woman ever. We have to have the most amount of money. You have to be the most famous person in the world. And if you're not, then you're really not a man. And actually, in fact, if you're not any of those, then you're really not a very cool person. If you don't have any of those things, then you really don't have much of a purpose in life. And we are not defined by those things. Only you can define yourself. So don't let others give you a definition. Next up is, what are the roles and responsibilities of a man? And I feel as this is a really big one due to the fact that we have really lost that sense of responsibility and have really kind of stopped playing our vital roles as men. And first up is being a foundation. And this one really goes out to men who are fathers or men who are preparing to be fathers. And like any foundation, the man needs to be the lower portion, the base of the family, the structure, the very solid structure that can hold anything, that can weather any storm. You really got to be strong. What is your foundation made out of? And next, he needs to be the provider. And this also really goes out mainly to the men who are fathers. And I feel as if that most men believe that being a good provider means supporting a family financially. It means much more than that. A man should contribute to the emotional, spiritual, physical, and mental well-being of the family. In order to do these things, he must recognize that there are other currencies in addition to money that needs to be provided. The protector. This means more than just beating up the guy next door, the guy that insulted your wife or your friend. It means protecting your values, your faith, your family values, your family from other potential threats other than just insults. A leader. Instead of waiting for others to take initiative when there's a problem, take initiative, take control, get your head in the game. If nobody else is taking the lead, nobody else wants to take the lead, then somebody's got to. And that person may just be you. So don't be afraid. Step up and lead. A teacher. What are you teaching those around you, especially your children? What's your behavior? It's important to provide a good example for your children or even your friends, loved ones, and community. With both words and deeds, set high standards and teach by doing. Don't just set high standards and high expectations for everybody else and not meet those standards yourself. Don't just say a bunch of nice words and preach all these good gospels. You got to actually go and practice those too. Because people are going to see that and they're going to be like, wow, that guy really actually does what he preaches. That guy's a really good leader. Practice what you preach. Now, I know I talk about good men, weak men, bad men, but what makes them that? What is actually influencing them? And I think number one is their environment. The environment that they grow up in. Not everybody who is a weak man is necessarily a weak man intentionally. It's probably because that they had somebody in their life that was a weak, and they looked up to that person, and that person influenced the things that they did. Really, everything about them influenced them. The people that you surround yourself with. This also falls into the category of environment. There's that common phrase, who and what we surround ourselves with is who and what we become. And yeah, that is true. It's not that we always want to become the people that we hang out with, but it is that we do want to fit in. You don't want to be that one guy who just doesn't fit in with his friends. You don't want to be that one guy that just is really uncool and he doesn't, do the drugs or anything. You don't want to be that one guy. So what are you going to do? You're going to try and fit in. You're going to slowly feed into those things. So you got to be careful who you hang out with and what you do. The people that you surround yourself with is the person that you become. And lastly, are the decisions that we make. The ones that you make. These decisions are really going to determine where you're going to be at in the next few years. These decisions are really going to define who you are. Like I said, you are the only person who can define yourself. And the decisions that you make are going to play a big role in the definition that you write for yourself. So as a man, as a leader, or just anybody, you got to start making good decisions. It's very important. The people that you surround yourself with, the environment that you grow up with, the decisions that you make. These three things can make good or bad men or good or bad people. So if you were raised in a bad environment, find good friends. Find people that are going to support you. Find people that are going to help you to become a better person. And if you don't have bad friends, then find a good environment to be in. And if you don't have that, then make good choices. It's not like there's no way out of becoming a bad person. There are ways to get out of that. You just got to be looking for those exits. What is the problem with men today? Now, I'm going to give you my view, what I think is the problem with men today, because it's not going to meet eye to eye with what everybody else thinks. Now, what I think is one of the problems with men today is that they're chasing after the world's view for them. They're kind of chasing after that definition of what the world wants them to be instead of just being the man that they're meant to be or being the person that they're meant to be. Like, you don't have to follow every single trend that pops up. You have to wear every single brand new shoe that comes in the store. Like, just be yourself. You don't have to always be chasing after this false view of what the world wants you to be. The world doesn't know what's best for you. The world doesn't know what struggles you've been in. The world didn't raise you. Like, don't go chasing after everything that the world wants you to be. And another thing is like the loss of self-accountability. Like, men aren't being held accountable for their actions. And maybe they are, but I just don't think they're being held accountable enough or being held accountable in the right way. And a big thing is that they don't have somebody who can hold them accountable. So they don't really have somebody who can tell them, oh, what's right or what's wrong. And a big thing is that we don't necessarily have that brotherhood like we used to. Brotherhood is something that I think every man needs. A good friend group, a good group of guys that, they get together regularly. A person who checks in on them. A person who has their back. Like, that's an important thing. Just having a good friend. It doesn't have to be a group of people, but it should be somebody that you trust. Somebody that trusts you back. A good friend can make all the difference in the world. A good group of guys can make all the difference in the world because you guys are keeping each other in check. You guys are checking on each other, checking on how this person is doing or how this person is doing. That brotherhood, that friendship is really good, and it's really for anybody. Everybody needs to have a good friend, at least one good friend. If you have a good group of friends, then that's even better. But you really need that. Next is going to be faith. And this one really goes out to our culture, our world in general. There seems to be a lack of faith in really about anything. Like nobody really wants to believe that there's a God. Everybody kind of just wants to live their life as if, this is just what we're supposed to be doing and this is where we're just supposed to be. And there's nothing really above or beyond this life. Like there is something greater than this. And I think it's sad that some people don't believe that there's a God, because then you can't really find out what greater purpose that you are meant for, or why you were created. It's just, I'm kind of created here by some evolutionary Big Bang theory, and all of a sudden I came to be in 1 in a million chances I'm, the most advanced species there has to be. Like that's kind of sad. Like people just don't believe that there's a God. People just don't have faith. They just kind of want to live their life the way that they want to and don't want to be, again, held accountable for their actions. So yeah, I think that the lack of faith, the loss of faith in our culture, in our communities, has a huge effect on the way that we do things, the way that we live our life. So maybe it's time that we have tried to tap into that a little bit. Why were we made? Why are we here? What is there out there greater than just this world? Is there a God? Because I believe there's a God. And I'm not saying that you have to be a Catholic person to be a good person. But I'm saying that you should at least acknowledge that there is some greater being out there than yourself, and that you were created by that greater being. And another one is these broken relationships. It seems like people just don't wait to date anymore. It's kind of like, we're 16 or we just kind of like each other and now we're going to date. It's kind of like nobody waits anymore. Nobody really discerns of whether I should even date this person. This person's been in 6 different relationships, but I'm the lucky guy that's maybe going to get with this person. Like what's up with that? And I probably should have named this part like what's wrong with the world in general, because I could make an entire podcast of what's wrong with the world. It's so broken and so messed up right now. But yeah, broken relationships is a big one too. So really lack of self-confidence, lack of brotherhood, lack of self-accountability, lack of mentors or good mentors, lack of good men for other men to look up to, lack of there's so much. And I wish I could go so much into this, but it would go on I could just keep going on forever. Now, what are some things that you can do to better yourself as a man, or even just as a person? Number 1 is going to be constantly improve yourself. You're never going to be better if you're never looking for ways to become better. So be ambitious. Men are naturally ambitious. They're naturally very competitive. All men want to be winners. Everybody wants to be a winner. You should set goals for yourself in your career or profession and reinvest yourself whenever you need to beat your goals. And if you don't know what your goals are, if you can't identify what your goals are, contemplate what you really want to achieve in life and what is most important to you, then head in that direction. Be a man of your word. Be someone who keeps their words, their promises. A man of his word is respected by others and can be trusted. A respected man honors his promises and sticks to it no matter what. Men who lie, exaggerate, cheat, and turn backs on what they've promised are not respected by others. No one is. Always remember to promise things that you can deliver. And if you can't deliver it, tell the truth straight away. By doing this, you will be respected for your honesty. And hold yourself accountable. The key difference between a man and an immature person is that men are responsible. Respected men take responsibilities, accept their obligations, and are accountable for their actions. The crucial attributes for success for a successful man starts with accountability. The ability to keep commitments one makes to oneself. Successful people don't look for excuses to be successful. They hunt for the way to be successful until they achieve it. Always be yourself. Don't try to be someone that you're not. The pressure from the outer world can influence who you are. The world is continually developing. It is very important for you to be yourself, for learning to be happy and self-assured. Speak with good purpose. Words are very powerful. Always try to show a positive intention and keep your words sincere. A few words can enlighten and uplift others. Speaking good words with positivity intentions is the foundation of healthy relationships. Take the lead in situations. People respect those who leap forward to handle challenging situations. Generally, those people are not admired, who stand back and look for others to resolve the problem. Some people avoid taking the lead in situations because of fear of criticism. They think playing safe is a better option. A man should work out of his comfort zone and take the lead to find solutions. The more you act like a leader, the more respected you will be as a man. Be a better man that people can look up to. Try to live your daily life constructing your decisions and actions on the philosophy of leading by example. By doing so, you'll be able to increase the levels of long-term confidence to develop the faith that everything else will fall into place as it is meant to be. This deliberate lifestyle directs your way of actions toward attaining your goals. The more successful you become, the more people will certainly look up to you. Your character will inspire others around you to also begin applying your motto in their lives. You will be someone people can follow, a leader of strength in this world. Be manly. Being manly does not mean being macho. A better man possesses positive qualities of determination, strength, confidence, high moral qualities, honesty, and integrity. A true man has the courage to deal with difficult situations, discomfort, or challenges without backing away despite his fears. Give respect and expect respect in return. Successful people respect others and expect respect in return. Men should admire others, but they should expect respect in return. If you are not treated well and not given respect, then your generosity is either not valued or not justified. If you give generously to a friend, expect and even claim that he has shown you respect and behave kindly towards you. These are some steps that you can take to better yourself. Some steps that you can take to be successful. If you want to be successful, then you got to take steps to get there. I want to thank you guys for joining me in this episode. I want to thank you guys for listening to the show. I want to thank you guys for supporting. I want to thank you guys for being amazing followers. And I know this show is probably going to start off a little slowly. We're still trying to get our footing. We're still trying to figure out a flow and whatnot. And right now it is just me. My co-host unfortunately can't really help me with a lot, and he does the most that he can. But for the time being, it's just me. And I want some feedback on this. What did you guys think of this episode? Are there any things that you think that I could do better on? Are there any ways that I can improve? And this is just going to help me to kind of get that proper footing while starting out. And yeah, I'm not afraid of criticism. If you guys are out there and you guys don't necessarily like what I'm doing, then you don't tell me. And then I'll try to change it up, or I'll try to, change a little bit. But again, I want to thank you guys for joining me on the show, listening to my podcast, and for your support. You guys can go follow us on our socials accounts at We Rising Suns on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You guys can also follow us on YouTube and on Spotify now. Again, that's at We Rising Suns. And yeah, go follow us there. We don't have our Patreon account set up all the way, but once we get that set up, I'll let you guys know. You guys can also follow me on my personal account at RaysOK, RAYS_OK for a lot of content that I post about the podcast and a lot of behind the scenes. But again, go follow us on our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube and Spotify. But in the meantime, know better, do better, be better. Go get after it. Go better yourself today. Thank you all, and I'll see you next time.